The stars looked different today. Commander Zixathera stood on the bridge of his massive warship and watched the blue planet grow larger on the main screen. His long, thin fingers moved across the control panel as he checked the ship's weapons one more time. Everything was ready. "Sir, we are now in range of the third planet," said his second officer. The creature had 4 eyes and spoke in the clicking language of the hegemony. "Our sensors show the primitive shuttle we detected earlier has returned to the surface." Zixathera nodded. This would be easy. His fleet of 12 warships had conquered 47 worlds in the past century. The species on this blue planet called Earth would be no different. They had been watching human radio signals for decades. The humans were clearly a young race that had barely learned to leave their own planet. "Open a communication channel," Zixathera ordered. "Let us offer them the standard terms. They can surrender now and live as our servants, or we can take them by force." Far below on Earth, Captain Jake Martinez sat in the command chair of the Earth Defense Force ship called Retribution. The massive vessel floated in the darkness between Earth and the moon. Jake was a tall man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been waiting for this day for 20 years. "Captain, we have 12 alien ships entering our solar system," reported Lieutenant Amy Rogers from her station. She was young with blonde hair tied back in a tight bun. Her fingers moved quickly over her controls. "They are big, sir. Really big." Jake smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Good. Are our other ships in position?" "Yes, sir. All 47 vessels are ready and waiting. The aliens cannot see them yet." "And the lunar base?" "Colonel Ben Clark reports Titan's hammer is online and ready to fire." Jake nodded. The aliens had made a big mistake. What they thought was humanity's first clumsy attempt at space travel was actually just a routine cargo ship. The pilot had forgotten to turn on his stealth system that day. Everything else in the human fleet was invisible to alien sensors. The communication screen lit up. An alien face appeared. It looked like a tall, thin human, but with gray skin and no hair. Its eyes were completely black. "Greetings, primitive creatures of the third planet," the alien said in broken English. "I am Commander Zixathera of the Hegemony. We have watched your pathetic attempts to reach space. You will surrender immediately and accept relocation to a world more suitable for your limited abilities." Jake leaned back in his chair. "This is Captain Jake Martinez of the Earth Defense Force. You have entered our space without permission. You have 30 seconds to explain why we should not consider you hostile invaders." The alien's black eyes went wide. This was not the response they expected. "Did you not hear me, primitive? We are offering you mercy. Your tiny shuttle shows us that you barely understand space travel. We are a great empire that spans hundreds of worlds." 15 seconds, Jake said calmly. Lieutenant Amy Rogers whispered, "Sir, I am reading massive energy spikes from their ships. They are charging weapons." "Let them," Jake replied. "All ships prepare for combat. Show them what they missed." On the alien command ship, Zixathera watched his sensor display with growing confusion. "Where did all these ships come from?" he demanded. His sensor officer's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Sir, I count 47 human vessels. They just appeared from nowhere. They were hiding somehow. Impossible. Our intelligence reports say they have barely reached their own moon." "Sir, the largest human ship is asking for our response to their ultimatum." Zixathera felt something he had not experienced in many years. Fear. But he pushed it down. "Show them our power. Fire a warning shot at that asteroid cluster." The alien ship's main weapon fired. A bright blue beam shot out and completely destroyed 3 large asteroids. The rocks simply disappeared in flashes of light. "Now they will surrender," Zixathera said with confidence. On the Retribution, Jake watched the alien demonstration without emotion. "Impressive." Lieutenant Blake returned the favor. "Target that asteroid field to the left. Show them what real firepower looks like." Lieutenant Tom Blake was a short man with thick glasses who loved big weapons. His finger hovered over the firing control. "Sir, are you sure? This will reveal our true capabilities." "Do it." Tom pressed the button. The Retribution's main plasma cannon fired. The beam was not blue like the alien weapon. It was pure white and so bright that the bridge lights dimmed automatically. The beam cut through not just 1 asteroid, but 7 in a perfect line. It continued traveling until it hit a small moon in the distance. The moon simply vanished. The alien fleet fell completely silent. "Sir," Amy Rogers reported, "I am getting no communications from the alien ships. Their energy signatures suggest they are in some kind of shock." Jake stood up from his command chair. Open a channel to all human forces. This is what we trained for, people. These aliens think we are primitives. They think they can push us around like they have done to other species. They are wrong. Throughout the solar system, hidden human bases came online. On Mars, Colonel Ben Clark watched his weapons systems activate. The Red Planet was not just a research colony as the aliens believed. It was a fortress armed with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. On the asteroid mining station, Chief Petty Officer Alex Turner began his electronic attack on the alien ships. His computers reached out and started breaking into alien communication systems. The aliens did not even know it was happening. "Captain," Amy Rogers said quietly, "I am picking up data from their ships. Alex has broken their codes. Sir, these aliens have done this before." "Many times," Jake's face went hard. "What do you mean?" "They have destroyed 17 different species in the past 200 years. Complete extinction. They offer terms of surrender, but they always kill everyone later." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. These were not just invaders. They were murderers on a massive scale. "All ships," he said into his communication device. "New mission parameters. These aliens are genocidal killers. We are not just defending Earth. We are going to make sure they never hurt anyone ever again." On the alien command ship, Zix Thera finally found his voice. "Retreat. All ships retreat immediately." But as his ships tried to turn around, they found human vessels appearing all around them. The hunters had become the hunted. Earth was not the primitive world they expected. It was the home of predators who had been waiting in the dark. Commander Zixathara felt his 3 hearts beating fast as more human ships appeared on his sensors. What had started as a simple conquest was turning into something else entirely. The primitive species they came to enslave was showing technology that should not exist. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded from his sensor officer. The 4-eyed creature worked frantically at his station. "I count 53 vessels now, sir. But the readings are strange. Some appear and disappear. I think they have more ships hiding." Zixthara's stomach felt sick. This was impossible. The hegemony had studied human radio transmissions for decades. They watched primitive television shows and listened to basic radio signals. Everything pointed to a young species that had barely learned to build rockets. On the lunar defense station called Titan's Hammer, Colonel Ben Clark watched the alien fleet through his targeting systems. Ben was a heavy man with a beard and calm eyes. He had spent 15 years building this station in secret. The aliens thought the moon was just a dead rock. They were wrong. "Chief Engineer Wade, are the main guns ready?" Ben asked. Lisa Wade wiped sweat from her forehead. She was a small woman with red hair and grease on her uniform. "Almost ready, sir. The power systems are running hot but stable. We can fire in 3 minutes." "Good. The aliens are about to learn that humans do not give up easily." On the alien flagship, Zixthera tried to understand what was happening. His intelligence reports were completely wrong. The humans were not primitives struggling to reach space. They had weapons that could destroy moons and ships that could hide from the best sensors in the galaxy. "Sir," his communication officer said with fear in his voice, "the humans are sending another message." Captain Jake Martinez appeared on the screen again. His face was cold and serious. "Commander Zixthara, you have exactly 1 chance to avoid total destruction. Tell us about the 17 species you murdered." Zixthara felt shock run through his body. How did they know about that? Those records were classified at the highest levels of the hegemony government. "I do not know what you mean," he lied. Jake's expression did not change. "We have access to your computer systems. We know about the Krellni. We know about the Fentok. We know about all 17 species you promised to relocate and then exterminated. Your empire is built on genocide." Chief Petty Officer Alex Turner sat in his hidden station deep in the asteroid belt. He was a thin man with dark skin and fast fingers. For the past hour, he had been sliding through alien computer systems like a ghost. The aliens had no idea their most secret files were being copied. "Captain Martinez," Alex said through his communication device, "I have everything. Military records, government orders, even video files of the executions. These aliens have been doing this for 2 centuries. On Earth, President Nicole Davis sat in the emergency command center deep under the capital city. She was an older woman with silver hair and steel in her voice. The alien commander was about to learn that humans did not negotiate with murderers. "Put me through to the alien leader," she ordered. Nicole's face appeared on every screen in the alien fleet. I am President Nicole Davis of Earth. Your commander claims he wants to negotiate, but we have seen your records. We know what you did to the Vorton children. We know how you poisoned the water on Kesmari. There will be no negotiation with genocidal monsters. Zixthera felt panic rising in his chest. This was supposed to be simple. Find a primitive world, make the standard offer, then take the population as slaves. When they were no longer useful, eliminate them and take their planet. It had worked 47 times before. You do not understand, he said desperately. Those species were inferior. They could not adapt to galactic civilization. We provided them with mercy. Jake's voice came through the communication system, cold as space itself. You provided them with death. Now you get to experience what that feels like. The human fleet began moving into attack formation. The aliens watched in horror as vessels that should not exist showed technology that defied their understanding. Human ships moved with precision that spoke of years of practice and planning. Sir, the alien sensor officer reported, the human ships are using gravitic drives. That technology should be impossible for a species at their development level. How long have they been spacefaring? Zixthera asked. According to our records, they first reached their moon only 60 years ago. Zixthera realized the terrible truth. Humanity had not been struggling to reach space. They had been preparing for war. For decades, they had been building in secret, waiting for someone like the hegemony to find them. On the human ship called Silent Death, Major Kate Wells checked her weapon systems. Kate was a tall woman with short black hair and scars on her hands from years of combat training. Her ship was one of 12 stealth destroyers that had been hiding in the outer solar system. All stealth ships, this is Kate. Begin Phase 2 of the battle plan. Time to show these aliens what happens when you threaten Earth. The stealth destroyers powered up their weapons. These were not the large plasma cannons that had destroyed the moon. These were smaller, faster weapons designed for one purpose: killing alien ships quickly and efficiently. Zixthera watched his tactical display change as new contacts appeared all around his fleet. The humans had not just been hiding their numbers. They had been positioning for a perfect ambush. All ships, retreat immediately, he ordered. Jump to hyperspace. Sir, we cannot, his navigation officer reported. Something is interfering with our hyperspace generators. We are trapped. Alex Turner smiled at his hidden station. Human scientists had studied captured alien technology for years. They knew exactly how to jam hyperspace systems. Captain Martinez, Alex reported, alien fleet is trapped. They cannot escape, Jake nodded. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since they first reached the stars. Not to conquer, but to defend. And when defense required it, to eliminate threats to innocent life. All ships, Jake said calmly. You are authorized to engage. Show them what happens when genocidal empires threaten Earth. The battle began with the fury of a star-going supernova. Human weapons, built with technology the aliens could not understand, reached out across space. The first alien ship exploded in a flash of light that could be seen from Earth. Zixthera realized too late that his species had made a fatal mistake. They had not found a primitive world to conquer. They had found the galaxy's apex predator, and it was very, very angry. The first alien ship died in silence. Space battles always happened in silence, but Major Kate Wells still felt the satisfaction as she watched the enemy vessel break apart on her display screen. Her stealth destroyer, Silent Death, had fired the killing shot from a distance that should have been impossible. Target destroyed, reported her weapons officer, a young man named Danny Pierce. Moving to next target, Kate nodded. Around the solar system, 46 other human ships were doing the same thing. The aliens had expected to find a primitive species with basic rockets. Instead, they found a military force that had been planning for this exact moment for over a century. On Mars, the red planet suddenly came alive. What the aliens thought was a simple research colony revealed its true nature. Massive weapon platforms rose from hidden bunkers. The entire planet was a fortress that had been disguised as a peaceful outpost. Dr. Ryan Hayes stood in his laboratory on Mars and watched the battle through the reinforced windows. Ryan was a tall man with gray hair and intelligent eyes. He was not a soldier, but he understood what was happening better than most. They never had a chance, he said to his assistant, a young woman named Carol Stone. The aliens made the same mistake that predators always make when they encounter a new prey species. What mistake is that, Doctor? Carol asked. They assumed that because we looked weak, we were weak. But humans learned long ago that the best defense is to let your enemy think you are helpless right up until the moment you destroy them. Ryan had spent 20 years studying alien technology from crashed ships and intercepted transmissions. He knew that the hegemony was not the most advanced species in the galaxy. They were successful because they picked on weak civilizations. Today, they had finally chosen the wrong target. The alien fleet tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for destroying cities and killing civilians. Human ships were built for war against other military forces. Every human vessel had armor that could stop alien weapons and shields that made them nearly impossible to target. Commander Zixthara watched 3 more of his ships explode in rapid succession. His fleet of 12 mighty warships was being picked apart by an enemy that should not exist. "Return fire," he screamed at his weapons officer. "Destroy them." The alien guns fired their blue beams at the human ships. Most of the shots missed completely. The human vessels moved too fast and changed direction too quickly. The few shots that did hit were absorbed by energy shields that the aliens did not even know were possible. Chief Petty Officer Alex Turner continued his electronic attack from his hidden station. He was not just jamming their hyperspace drives. He was stealing every piece of information in their computer systems. "Captain Martinez," Alex reported through his communication device, "I have their star charts. I know the location of every hegemony world. I also have something else you need to see." "What is it, Alex?" "Prisoner records, sir. They still have survivors from some of the species they supposedly eliminated. Millions of them being used as slave labor on mining worlds." Jake felt anger burn in his chest like fire. The aliens were not just genocidal killers. They were slavers who had lied about exterminating entire species. Those people were still alive, suffering in alien prison camps. "Send that information to President Davis immediately," Jake ordered. "This changes everything." On Earth, President Nicole Davis received the intelligence report and felt her blood turn cold. The aliens had not just killed 17 species. They had enslaved the survivors and worked them to death in mines and factories across their empire. "Get me Admiral Scott," she ordered her chief of staff. "It is time to activate the Omega Protocol." Admiral Paul Scott was the most decorated military officer in human history. He was a large man with white hair and scars from a dozen different wars. He had been waiting in a secret base on the far side of the moon for this exact order. "Madam President," Paul said when her face appeared on his communication screen, "are you authorizing the construction of planet killers?" "I am authorizing the complete elimination of the hegemony empire," Nicole replied. "Those slaves are going to be freed, and no alien species will ever threaten Earth again." The battle in space was ending quickly. Human ships surrounded the remaining alien vessels like wolves around wounded prey. The aliens tried to surrender, but Jake Martinez had clear orders from Earth Command. "No prisoners," Jake said coldly. "These ships contain data about every slave camp and every murdered world. But the crews aboard them are genocidal killers who will never change." Sergeant Nina Foster prepared her Marines for boarding action. Nina was a short woman with muscles like steel and eyes like winter ice. She had trained for 20 years to fight aliens in close combat. "Listen up, Marines," she told her squad. "These creatures have murdered billions of innocent people. Show them the same mercy they showed those children on Vorton." The human boarding pods launched from their ships and attached to the alien hulls like metal parasites. Nina and her Marines cut through the alien armor with plasma torches and charged inside. The aliens had never experienced humans in close combat. Their species had been spacefaring for thousands of years, but they had forgotten how to fight with their hands and weapons in narrow corridors. Humans had never forgotten. Nina's Marines moved through the alien ship like death itself. They were faster, stronger, and more vicious than anything the aliens had ever encountered. The hegemony forces surrendered quickly, but surrender was not accepted. Commander Zixthara barricaded himself on his command bridge and watched his fleet die ship by ship. Only 3 vessels remained intact, and human boarding parties were cutting through their hulls. "This is impossible," he whispered to himself. "We are a galactic empire. We have conquered 47 worlds. How can a single primitive planet destroy us so easily?" His sensor officer, one of the few crew members still alive, looked at him with all 4 eyes wide with terror. "Sir, I think I understand what happened. Look at these readings." The creature showed Zixthara energy signatures from the human ships. The numbers were staggering. Each human vessel carried more firepower than an entire hegemony battle group. "They have been building for war," the sensor officer said quietly. Not just for years, but for generations. Their entire civilization has been preparing for this moment. Zixthera realized the truth too late. Earth was not a primitive world that had accidentally discovered space travel. It was a military fortress disguised as a peaceful planet. Every human was a soldier. Every human ship was a weapon. And every human had been waiting for aliens like the hegemony to make the mistake of threatening their world. The command bridge door exploded inward. Sergeant Nina Foster stepped through the smoke with her weapon ready. Behind her, 6 Marines in black armor followed like angels of death. "Commander Zixthera," Nina said in perfect alien language, "you are under arrest for genocide, slavery, and crimes against 17 species. How do you plead?" Zixthera looked at the human soldier. She was small compared to his species, but her eyes held something he had never seen before, not just anger or hatred, but absolute determination to see justice done. "We offer surrender," he said desperately. "We can negotiate terms." Nina smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "The time for negotiation ended when you murdered the first innocent child. There are no terms. There is only justice." The last alien ship went dark. The battle was over. Earth had won completely. But Jake Martinez knew this was not the end. It was the beginning of something much larger. Humanity now knew they were not alone in the galaxy, and they knew that the galaxy was full of predators. It was time to change that. 3 alien ships tried to escape. They broke away from the main battle and activated their fastest engines, racing toward the edge of the solar system. Commander Zixthera was dead, killed during the boarding action, but his second officer hoped to warn the hegemony about what they had found at Earth. Captain Steve Morgan commanded the heavy cruiser Mjolnir, one of humanity's fastest ships. Steve was a calm man with steady hands and sharp eyes. He had been chasing enemy ships for 15 years, and no one had ever escaped him. "Helm, intercept course," Steve ordered his navigation officer. "Do not let them reach hyperspace." "Yes, sir," replied Lieutenant Bobby White. "Estimated intercept in 12 minutes. Steve smiled. The aliens were fast, but human ships had been designed by engineers who understood that sometimes you needed to catch running enemies. The Mjolnir's engines were powered by fusion reactors that could burn for days without stopping. Behind him, 2 more human ships joined the chase. The destroyer Lightning and the cruiser Thunder had been waiting in the outer solar system for exactly this situation. The aliens thought they were running toward safety. Actually, they were running toward more human weapons. On the alien ship, the second officer pushed his engines to maximum power. His name was Veltar, and he had served the hegemony for 30 years. He had seen many conquered worlds, but nothing like what happened at Earth. "How much time until we can jump to hyperspace?" he asked his navigation officer. 15 minutes, sir, but the human ships are gaining on us." Veltar looked at his sensor display. The human vessels were closing the distance quickly. Whatever kind of engines they used, they were more powerful than anything in the hegemony fleet. "Prepare to send a message to High Command," Veltar ordered. "Tell them that Earth is not a primitive world. Tell them to send the entire Third Fleet if they want to take this system." Captain Steve Morgan watched the alien ships grow larger on his display screen. Soon they would be in weapon range. But Steve had different orders than the other human captains. These ships needed to be captured, not destroyed. "Weapons officer, prepare the neural disruptor," Steve commanded. Lieutenant Sarah Kim was a small woman with steady hands and perfect aim. She had trained for years with the new weapon systems that human scientists had built from captured alien technology. "Neural disruptor ready, sir," Sarah reported. "Targeting the lead ship's command center." The neural disruptor was a weapon that shut down alien nervous systems without damaging their ships. Human scientists had developed it specifically for capturing enemy vessels with their crews alive. There were questions that needed answers. Fire. The invisible beam reached out across space and touched the first alien ship. Inside the vessel, Veltar and his entire crew suddenly collapsed as their neural system shut down. The ship continued flying, but no one was conscious to control it. Steve repeated the process with the other 2 ships. Within minutes, all 3 alien vessels were drifting helplessly through space with their crews unconscious but alive. "Launch boarding pods," Steve ordered. "I want those ships and their crews brought to Earth immediately." 6 hours later, Veltar woke up in a cell on Earth. The room was small but clean, with white walls and a single window that showed blue sky and white clouds. He had never seen a natural planetary atmosphere before. Most hegemony worlds were industrial planets with poisoned air. A human walked into the cell. It was a woman with brown hair and kind eyes, but Veltar could see the strength underneath her gentle appearance. She wore a uniform with symbols he did not recognize. "I am Colonel Jennifer Walsh," she said in perfect hegemony language. "I need to ask you some questions." Veltar tried to stand but found his legs were weak. "Where am I?" "You are on Earth in a secure facility. Your ships have been captured and your crews are in similar cells. You are prisoners of war." "The hegemony will send ships to rescue us," Veltar said, trying to sound confident. Jennifer sat down in a chair across from him. "No, they will not. We have been monitoring hegemony communications for 6 months. Your government thinks your entire fleet was destroyed with no survivors. They are not planning a rescue mission." Veltar felt hope drain from his body. "What do you want from me?" "Information. We know about the 17 species your empire murdered. We know about the slave camps. But we need details. Locations, security codes, garrison strengths. We are going to free every slave in hegemony space, and you are going to help us do it." "I will never betray the hegemony," Veltar said firmly. Jennifer's expression did not change. "Let me show you something." She activated a holographic display that showed images from hegemony prison worlds. Aliens of different species worked in terrible conditions, mining radioactive materials with no protection. Children as young as 5 years old carried heavy loads until they collapsed from exhaustion. "This is what your empire does to innocent people," Jennifer said quietly. "This is what you have been supporting for 30 years. Are you really going to protect the people who do this?" Veltar stared at the images. He had known that the hegemony used slave labor, but he had never seen the reality of it. The suffering was worse than anything he had imagined. "Why do you care about other species?" he asked. "Humans could conquer worlds just like the hegemony does. Why do you want to free slaves instead of making your own?" Jennifer smiled, and for the first time it was a warm, genuine expression. "Because that is what makes us human. We protect people who cannot protect themselves. We fight monsters so that innocent children can sleep safely at night." Over the following days, Veltar found himself talking more and more with his human captors. They showed him records of what the hegemony had really done to the 17 extinct species. They showed him the true conditions on the slave worlds. They showed him what Earth was like before humans discovered they were not alone in the galaxy. Earth was beautiful, cities full of happy people, forests and oceans that were clean and healthy, children playing in parks without fear. It was everything that hegemony worlds were not. "Your people could have all of this," Jennifer told him during one of their conversations. "The hegemony chooses to build an empire of suffering instead of a civilization of peace. But you do not have to be part of that choice." Lieutenant Chris Bell worked in the Intelligence Analysis Center deep under the Earth Defense Force headquarters. Chris was a young man with quick eyes and a mind that could see patterns in massive amounts of data. He had been studying the information taken from captured hegemony ships for weeks. "Admiral Martinez," Chris said when Jake came to check on his progress, "I have the locations of 43 slave worlds and 17 prison stations. I also have something else." "What is it, Chris?" "The hegemony is not the only genocidal empire in this part of the galaxy. I found communications with 2 other species that operate the same way. The Vornak Collective and the Stelmari Federation. They divide up the galaxy between them and take turns conquering primitive worlds." Jake felt cold anger settle in his stomach. "How many species have they murdered?" "Based on these records, over 200 in the past 5 centuries. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated his communication device and contacted Earth Command. "This is Admiral Martinez requesting immediate connection to President Davis, Priority Alpha. Nicole." Davis appeared on the screen within seconds. "What is it, Jake?" "Madam President, we have a bigger problem than we thought. The hegemony is just one of 3 empires that have been committing genocide across the galaxy. We need to make a decision about how far we are willing to go to stop this." Nicole was quiet for several seconds. When she spoke, her voice was as hard as steel. "How many innocent people are suffering in their prison camps right now?" "Approximately 400 million, spread across 60 worlds. Then we go as far as necessary." "All of it, Jake. We end all of it." Jake nodded. "Understood, Madam President. I will begin planning the liberation campaigns immediately." "And Jake, start construction of the planet killers. If these empires will not surrender, then they will share the fate they gave to 200 other species." The call ended. Jake looked out the window at Earth's blue sky and white clouds. Humanity had spent centuries learning to live in peace with each other. Now they would teach the galaxy what that peace was worth. The age of genocidal empires was about to end. Earth was going to make sure of that. 1 year after the destruction of the hegemony fleet at Earth, massive ships appeared in hyperspace above the alien capital world. But these were not the vessels that Veltar expected to see. The ships emerging from the darkness were larger than anything ever built by any species in the galaxy. General Paul Scott stood on the bridge of the EDF Apocalypse and watched the hegemony homeworld grow larger. On his display screen, Paul was a man who had seen many battles, but this was different. Today, humanity would end a genocidal empire forever. "Sir," reported his sensor officer, Lieutenant Mike Carter, "I am detecting massive orbital defense platforms around the planet. Over 300 armed stations and 2,000 ships." Paul nodded calmly. "How many people live on that world, Mike?" "Approximately 12 billion, sir." "And how many innocent people did they murder over the past 2 centuries?" Mike checked his data files. "Over 40 billion, sir. Plus 400 million still in slavery. Then they have earned what is about to happen to them," Paul said quietly. "Open a communication channel to the planet." The face of the hegemony supreme leader appeared on the main screen. The alien looked like Commander Zixathara had, but older and with cold, cruel eyes. His name was Karvash, and he had ordered the deaths of 17 entire species. "Unknown ships," Karvash said with arrogance in his voice. "You will identify yourselves immediately and explain why you dare to approach the sacred homeworld of the hegemony." Paul stepped forward so the alien could see him clearly. "I am General Paul Scott of the Earth Defense Force. I am here to deliver justice for every innocent person your empire has murdered." Karvash laughed, a horrible sound like breaking glass. "Earth? The primitive world that destroyed one of our survey fleets? You think your small ships can threaten the might of our capital system?" "We are not here to threaten you," Paul replied. "We are here to destroy you completely." Captain Rachel Stone commanded the scientific vessel Discovery, one of 50 ships in the Human Liberation Fleet. Rachel was a brilliant woman who had spent months studying hegemony prison camps and slave worlds. She had seen the records of what these aliens did to children and families. "General Scott," Rachel reported through the communication system, "this is Discovery. We have identified the locations of all government leaders, military commanders, and slave camp administrators on the planet below. Marking targets now." Paul looked at the tactical display as red dots appeared across the surface of the alien world. Each dot represented someone who had ordered the deaths of innocent people. There were thousands of them. Acknowledged Discovery. Begin Phase 1 of the operation. The human fleet had not come to conquer the hegemony homeworld. They had come to rescue the slaves being held in orbital prison stations and then eliminate every person responsible for centuries of genocide. 12 human ships moved toward the prison stations that orbited the planet. These were rescue vessels equipped with medical facilities and temporary housing for millions of freed slaves. The aliens watched in confusion as the human ships ignored the defense platforms and headed straight for the prisons. "What are they doing?" Karvash demanded from his command center on the planet's surface. His military advisor, a creature with 6 arms and nervous eyes, studied the sensor readings. "They appear to be boarding the prison station, Supreme Leader. They are not attacking our defenses." "The prisoners are worthless slaves," Karvash said with disgust. "Why would they risk their lives for such inferior creatures?" On the prison station called Suffering's End, Commander Lisa Grant led her rescue team through corridors filled with horror. Lisa was a tough woman who had seen combat on a dozen worlds, but nothing had prepared her for what the hegemony did to their prisoners. Aliens from 17 different species were crammed into cells barely large enough for one person. They had been tortured, starved, and worked nearly to death. Many were children who had been born in captivity and never seen sunlight or breathed clean air. "Medical teams to Section 7 immediately," Lisa ordered through her communication device. "We have children here who need emergency treatment." Dr. Emma Clark was the chief medical officer for the rescue mission. Emma was a small woman with gentle hands and a fierce determination to save lives. She had been treating rescued slaves for 6 months, but the conditions on this station were the worst she had ever seen. "How many prisoners are on this station?" Emma asked as she worked to save a dying child from the Krellni species. "Over 2 million, Lisa replied. And this is just one of 12 stations in this system. As the human rescue ships worked to save the slaves, General Paul Scott prepared for the second phase of the operation. The planet killer weapons were fully charged and ready to fire. All rescue ships report status, Paul ordered. Captain Rachel Stone answered first. Discovery reports all prisoners from Station Alpha have been evacuated. Moving to Station Beta now. One by one, the other rescue ships reported successful evacuations. It took 8 hours to rescue all the slaves from the orbital prisons. But humanity had built their ships to be patient and thorough. On the surface of the hegemony homeworld, Karvash grew increasingly nervous as he watched the human ships continue their rescue operations, while ignoring his military forces. "Why are they not attacking?" he demanded. "Why do they care about the prisoners?" His advisor had been studying human communications that their intelligence services had intercepted. "Supreme Leader, I believe these humans consider themselves protectors of innocent life. They appear to value the lives of other species as much as their own." Karvash felt something he had never experienced before. Not fear of death, but fear of judgment. These humans were not conquerors like the hegemony. They were something else entirely. "General Scott," came the voice of Captain Rachel Stone. "This is Discovery. All prisoners have been evacuated from the orbital stations. Beginning Phase 2 medical treatment. We have approximately 24 million rescued slaves in stable condition." Paul nodded. "Acknowledged, Discovery. All rescue ships clear the target zone immediately." The human rescue fleet moved to a safe distance from the planet. Now only the warships remained, their weapons pointed at the world that had caused so much suffering across the galaxy. "Open a final communication channel to the planet," Paul ordered. Karvash appeared on the screen again, but now his arrogance was gone. He could see what was about to happen. "You said you came here for justice," the alien leader said quietly. "We offer surrender. We will dissolve the hegemony and free all remaining slaves." Paul's expression did not change. "You offered the same terms to the Fortan delegation before you poisoned their children. You offered peace to the Kesmari before you destroyed their homeworld. Your words are worth nothing. Please," Karvash begged. "There are billions of innocent people on this world who had nothing to do with the government's decisions. Where was your mercy when the hegemony murdered billions of innocent people across 200 worlds?" Paul asked coldly. "Did you think about their children when you ordered entire species exterminated?" Paul turned to his weapons officer, a calm woman named Major Janet Kim. "Major, you are authorized to fire." "Yes, sir," Janet replied. "Planet killer weapons are locked on target." The human ships fired in perfect synchronization. 12 beams of pure energy, each more powerful than a star, reached down from space and touched the surface of the hegemony homeworld. The planet simply vanished in a flash of light that could be seen from other star systems. Where the capital of a genocidal empire had existed for thousands of years, there was now only empty space and cosmic dust. "Target destroyed," Major Janet Kim reported quietly. "The hegemony homeworld has been eliminated." Paul felt no satisfaction, only the grim completion of necessary work. "Send word to the liberation fleets. Begin Phase 3. All hegemony worlds, all military bases, all government installations. Complete elimination." Over the following months, human fleets appeared at every world controlled by the hegemony empire. The pattern was always the same. Rescue the slaves and prisoners, then destroy everything else. No hegemony leader survived. No hegemony ship escaped. No hegemony world was left habitable. The galaxy watched in amazement as a single planet systematically destroyed an empire that had controlled hundreds of star systems. But humanity was not finished. Captain Rachel Stone commanded the memorial construction ships that visited the dead homeworlds of the 17 extinct species. At each system, humans built massive monuments that listed the names of every person who had died. The memorials broadcast across the galaxy in 1,000 languages. Here lived a people who were destroyed by genocidal empires. Earth remembers them. Earth will not let their deaths be forgotten. Admiral Jake Martinez, now promoted to Supreme Commander of Earth's Galactic Fleet, received intelligence reports about the 2 other genocidal empires in nearby space. The Vornak Collective and the Stelmari Federation had watched the destruction of the hegemony with growing fear. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Chris Bell, "both empires are mobilizing their full military forces. They appear to be planning a joint attack on Earth." Jake smiled coldly. "Good. It will save us the trouble of hunting them down separately." How many planet killers do we have operational? 47, sir. With 12 more under construction.